Welcome to Sketchy Presents Bovines in Space, the Over the Moon edition. And it appears the main event is about to happen. So strap yourself in because it's going to be a totally infectious ride. Check out this fearless bovine explorer, symbolizing Strep bovis, galloping right over the moon. Galloping like Strep gallolyticus. Strep bovis and Strep gallolyticus are names for the same thing, sometimes also referred to as the SBSEC, Strep bovis equinus complex. The nomenclature has changed over the years, and the most recent transition has been to Strep gallolyticus. However, you may see references to the prior names, as the medical community has not fully adopted the change, which just means more to memorize. Isn't that just out of this world awesome? Furthermore, there are additional subspecies of Strep gallolyticus that you may encounter on your extraterrestrial travels. These include Strep gallolyticus subspecies gallolyticus, yep, said twice, not the most elegant system, Strep gallolyticus subspecies pasteurianus, and so on with Infantarius and Lutetiensis, and a few other stragglers we won't mention because they aren't relevant unless you're into cheese making. You may see them referenced with the full name or just with the relevant last bit, Strep lutetiensis, for example, in which the preceding Strep gallolyticus is implied. Speaking of which, check out those big D ears on our bovine friend. We've added them to remind you of Strep gallolyticus's classification as Group D strep. Now that's some big D energy, if you know what I mean. I mean Group D strep, big Group D strep energy. Speaking of energy, notice that this view of space has some positively purpley energy, just like all of Sketchy's lessons on gram-positive bacteria. And check out these chains and pairs of planets, which represent, you guessed it, that S. gallolyticus are gram-positive cocci in chains or pairs. And in perfect galactic style, our bovine buddy is encapsulated in his glass space helmet, symbolizing that Strep gallolyticus is also encapsulated, but in a polysaccharide capsule rather than glass. So edgy. Reflecting off his glass helmet is the mesmerizing Gamma Aurora, a rare and beautiful sight. It's appeared to remind you that Strep gallolyticus is generally gamma hemolytic, aka no hemolysis happens, which means that there will be no clearing within the blood agar. To help remind you of this finding, this aurora remains bright red. Quick side note, occasionally you'll come across some strains that are alpha hemolytic, but it's less common and far less pretty. Oh, heads up. A liver asteroid with bright green bile rivers is headed our way. It's flying by to remind you that Strep gallolyticus will grow in bile salt media. Message delivered. Get it? Liver? I hope that galloping space cow doesn't slip on that patch of moon moss. That slippery film mucking up the surface represents the biofilm that Strep gallolyticus is excellent at forming, especially on collagen-rich surfaces like heart valves. Definitely not the kind of vegetation you want hanging around. Oh, check out the Milky Way. Come to think of it, it looks a little colon-like, huh? That's because the colon is the normal hangout for Strep gallolyticus. It can exist normally in the GI tract of ruminants, both land cows and space cows, domestic and feral animals, and quite a lot of people. It's considered an opportunistic pathogen. It can live fairly peacefully in the colon, but if it leads to disease, it may be a sign of additional underlying pathology. Now, before we head back down to Earth, let's go over the clinical relevance of Strep gallolyticus. Strep gallolyticus bacteremia can lead to endocarditis, recall its propensity to form biofilms, represented here by our heart lantern. The bacteria has also been implicated in other types of infection, namely hepatobiliary disease, septic arthritis, osteomyelitis, UTI, meningitis, and mastitis. Perhaps most importantly, there is a strong association between Strep gallolyticus infection and colorectal neoplasia. So much so that we've made an entire crab constellation with its claws on our colon Milky Way to help you remember this association. If a patient is diagnosed with a Strep galolyticus infection, it's important to obtain a colonoscopy, as they may have colon cancer. So, regardless of the infection location, if you hear Strep galolyticus or Strep bovis infection, think colon cancer first. Now, for treatment. As if sent from the heavens, the space squid cowboy here to banish Strep galolyticus. The third-generation cephalosporin squid, that is. He's riding in on his trusty vancomycin van, ready to take out any stray Strep galolyticus, and it's propelled by his handy purple pencil rocket, symbolizing penicillin. These 3 antibiotics are generally all able to effectively combat Strep galolyticus and ensure peace reigns in the galaxy. What an infectiously beautiful space story. I want to hear it all again. So let's do a quick review. Streptococcus galolyticus is the current name for Strep bovis strep equinus complex, aka SBSEC, which may also be referenced simply as Group D strep. Strep galolyticus are gram-positive cocci in chains or pairs and are encapsulated. When plated on blood agar, they are gamma hemolytic, don't hemolyze. They can grow in bile salt media. Strep galolyticus forms biofilms and can be a part of the normal GI tract flora in some animals and humans. In terms of clinical relevance, Strep galolyticus can cause bacteremia and endocarditis, and there's a strong association between Strep galolyticus infection and colorectal neoplasia. And finally, for treatment, Strep galolyticus is sensitive to third-generation cephalosporins, vancomycin, and penicillin. And with that, we will leave you with a little sketchy space ditty. Hey, Group D, diddle diddle, my colon is crab-riddled, Strep bovis galloped over the moon. Purple Strep galolyticus is gamma hemolyticus, and cephalosquid will eradicate it soon. Sketchy out.